You know, that's pretty. Hey, what's going on, everyone? And welcome to the Deceptilab. And I say we had a little bit of fun up here. I said I had accidentally went live a little bit earlier, and usually that's when I just show all my promotional stuff. Man, I was sitting up here, I forgot to add the newsletter link, and I was changing it, and I was like, "Oh shoot, I'm live!" And then I could see everybody in the chat talking about you live. So, uh, hopefully, I ain't say nothing too crazy in the background or nothing like that. But um, yeah, man, we here for another live stream this week. And man, right around this time, usually right around right before Thanksgiving, is that's when I usually start talking about the year in review. And I like to do that just because, like, honestly, like throughout the year, we get a lot of times where we get frustrated with space ape stuff like that, just over different things that happen over the course of the year. But man, when I was actually taking a look, and I was going to start talking about this last week, but I got so excited about the legacy batch. Um, to be honest with you, uh, that kind of took precedence last week. But then when I was reading through, I read through like every newsletter through all of 2023 just to kind of get a good idea how the game went. And dude, like honestly, it was a pretty good year. So, for you guys that are in the chat, let me know what are your favorite moments of this year, and what were your least favorite moments of this year in Transformers Earth Wars. Let me know. It'll be a good discussion. I can promise you that, man. Like when you start talking about some of this stuff, and I will of course share some of my favorite moments and least favorite moments of the year as well. So yeah, go ahead and make sure you add that to the chat. And before we get into any of that, let's go to the newsletter that I didn't update. So let me do that now. And I still got last week's stuff up there. So let's change it. Boom. And now we got this week's on there. Yeah, Merc. Favorite moment of the year. Like it could be anything. It could be a bot, combat bot. It could be a particular event. Could have been a new feature that they added. So yeah, let me know in the chat. And it could be personal too. Like for me, um, one of the biggest moments of the year for me was, you know, getting that first tier monetization. That was one of my biggest moments. So that was dope. Stuff like that. Could be for your content since you're a content creator. If you guys hadn't seen Mercenary Terror stuff, check them out. All right, so this week's event is called Webs of Deceit. It's week 2 of the saga. And actually, I should have used that. I might use that one next week. The Thanksgiving picture they got up there, that's pretty dope. I think they used that one last year, though. Let's see. So I talked a little bit about this last week. So it's an individual totalizer, and they're going to treat it like an endurance event because the prizes you can get a 4 star or 5 star drill horn, a nose cone. I showed you guys last week the rework that Space Ape and the playtest team did for that. Actually looks really, really good. I actually had some comments later on about it in the newsletter. They dropped the point total a little bit. So, with a team endurance event, typically you got to do 87.5K per person on average to go in and get your your new bot, and they dropped it down to 70,000 for the 5 star. And the reason why is they saying, and I was talking to Space Ape about it, and they said, well, this is older content that we just kind of gave a rework. We're not going to treat it like new content. And to be honest, that was the right call, to drop it down. I might have even dropped it down further if I'm being honest with you, but just because people, like I was saying last week, just don't believe in drill horn yet. I mean, all the way up until like right before stream, people were saying, "Hey, is this actually good?" Like drill horn and nose cone have been bad for so long, then you know, that's what it is. But yeah. So we'll see what happens. I mean, we just had an endurance event the week before last too, a team endurance event, so people might be drained from it. And I hope that they don't use this as the benchmark for this type of individual endurance, because people have been asking for this like crazy. So let me know in the comments in the chat, what do you think about the idea of having individual endurance events, and if so, when do you think they should be? But anyway, so 70,000 points to go get the 5 star drill horn and nose cone. 36.5K to get the 4 star. Here's the prize chart. Now, I will say, when you have a long event like that, prizes are usually pretty decent. And the one thing that I don't like, as I said, and I'm gonna say it with a lot of large events like that, large events should have decent amounts of combat spark. Here they're doing combiner spark and regular spark. Granted, they're doing the 5 star shards and everything, but I would just really like for large events, if you're gonna be grinding it out, the game's most scarce resource should be abundantly available to you. And that's like right now, it seems like more of the focus is on the week 4 event, which is the 50K individual totalizer. But other than that, I don't got a problem with the prize charts. I see they start doing a lot of total spark and total shards at 38K. I haven't decided what I'm gonna commit to for this weekend, but I got a lot of war bots that I want to rank up, so we'll see how that goes. Typical battle zones. Let's see, we already know about season 22 of the Cyber Pass. The Cyber Store is going global, and they're saying they're going to start that on Thursday. They did the test last week with the Canadian players. Um, Overall, I heard that it went well. Um, there was there have been like a little groups that Space Ape is asking certain players to, and I don't know what the criteria is, but they're asking for a lot of input. I just got into it yesterday, so a lot of people were having a lot of conversations before I even got in there, but from what I could see, it looked really, really productive. But Cyberstore was one of those topics. So I'm still waiting to see what it's going to look like. Hopefully, it looks cool. I'm not there yet as into knowing all the details about it yet. And of course, the talk of the talk of the last week, and will be the talk again this week, is going to be the legacy badge. And of course, one of the major prizes of this event is going to be for that nose cone and drill horn. And so you can see the stats there. Made some changes to it, but overall, people ask me my opinion about the bot. The bot is good. It does add in that max health boost that they're doing now, and it's also going to be able to destroy walls pretty easily. So it's going to be a nice touch. Um, I gave my thoughts in the playtest, in addition to a couple other playtesters. This was one of the most fun projects of the year, because it was such a challenge to come up with, and like Dale took the lead on it, and I really, really hope did they do the legacy batch again. They sent out a survey and it was in the newsletter, but not that many people voted because it was just kind of buried in there with other stuff. I mean, they announce stuff on Discord all the time. I think that it's good for them to, they ping us and tell us take this survey about legacy batch, and then people will answer it. Put it on Reddit, put it on their Facebook page, put it on all the places that you need in order for people to see it. So, but definitely would love to see more legacy batch, especially if they're going. The labor they use is going to be to use Dale Ford to take the lead. I think that's um, I think that's a good use of labor. Check out all of your content creators, especially the official ones, Engineer Horse, myself, Soldier, and Sunstreak Awaza. And then we got a lot of the unofficial content creators in here as well. Um, Honestly, these guys making a lot of good stuff. I say it every week, but a lot of the guys in the chat, I'll give them a shout out a little bit later on. But yeah, man, it should be dope. To It's always dope to have a lot more content creators around. All right, for the saga schedule. So this is my beef was we're in week 2 and we're doing another large event. Now, granted, the approach a lot of times that Space Ape will take is like, well, it's individual, you don't have to play. But I don't think that should be the approach from a business standpoint because when you look at it, you want people to play the game. You want people to be and get the more you can get your player base to engage, the better off you'll be. So I don't foresee this event being a large success. However, the concept of the individual totalizer, depending on how Space Ape decides to approach it, I do see that being a long term success. So I hope they don't use these statistics from this particular totalizer as the guiding point for whether or not it's a success or not. And honestly, we already got endurance events that give out 5-star bots. I think we should go focus on giving out the the combats and weapons and stuff like that. So that's my advice I gave to Space 8. Um, hopefully, hopefully it works out that way. But yeah, and one thing I didn't mention last week, they added a week to the saga toward the tail end. And the Christmas week and New Year's week for those who celebrate and everything, they want to keep those events small. But this this individual endurance actually makes a week longer in the saga, and it throws a lot of things off. To be honest, so it throws off this timing for when you go get your well, it doesn't throw off really the combat bot thing, but we'll see how that goes. Well, it does the following saga. It makes it take a week longer. We'll see how it goes. So, Community Corner, Water Dragon actually won the Sentius Malice and Sentius Magnus Winter Art Contest. And somebody showed me a picture, and it's not on here. Somebody showed me a picture of another concept. I think it was like the gingerbread man concept for Malice or whatever, and they thought they should have won. I actually like Water Dragon's design a lot. Um, I can't wait to see it in the game, man. Like that looks sick to me. Like, yeah, I definitely would have voted for that. So, um, looking forward to that, especially with us having gotten the 5-star in the game this year. I hope to see a lot of the Magnus Winter skin here soon. Yeah, Candyman's agreeing with me. He says the Sentius gingerbread one was dope. I don't know, man. Like, and it was dope. Don't get me wrong. I still like this one better. I think this is dope. Um, I saw one comment in one of the chats I'm in, and they were saying this one's a lot less work for Space Ape. That's why they did it. I'm not gonna say all that. I mean, I think it's sick. I like the color scheme. All right, so bug fixes and improvements for the week. So they are still looking into sidetrack and growl because so if you missed it last week, I think it was, they said we had the thunder drop thing, which I was a strategy that I was talking about a couple of streams ago, where you go take one of your aerial class bots. Like for me, it's usually Thundercracker, and you go drop your sidetrack or your growl. down in the back of the base, and because they're invincible for 10 seconds, they tear a bunch of stuff up. So last week, Space Ape said, "Well, we're not going to allow it to do that. So we're not going to allow it to attack HQ at all." And then what ended up happening is players were reporting, "Well, once you've destroyed all the rest of the base, that growl just stands there and does nothing." So they're talking about letting it target after everything else is gone. I don't know how you. That sounds like a programming nightmare to me. I don't know if they'll be able to successfully pull it off, but they're looking at it. Slingshot and Acid Storm. Apparently, they were doing some healing when they were doing their acid damage, and it was causing them to do less damage than normal. Um, so that's supposed to be fixed, and they'll be coming in with the fix tomorrow. Slipstream, who I use in my war team, was saying wasn't the bomb wasn't detonating. I hadn't run into that problem, but apparently some people have, and that is supposed to be fixed. And then Gnaw is dropping minions in the wrong location, and that will also be fixed with the update tomorrow. And then Space Ape still hasn't given us a time for their next team stream, and that is the news for this week. So let's go over to the battlefield and we'll take a look at the chat, see who's in there, and see what folks are talking about. I know we probably got some good conversation going on, and it looks like, and I think I actually saw the top of the chat today. And Mercenary Terry, my moderator, friend, and fellow content creator, says make sure to subscribe. So yeah, definitely subscribe to the channel, guys. Like I'm trying to, I'm still trying to get that tier 2 monetization. So if you got some friends up there that's looking for some advice and stuff like that, tell them stop by, watch the channel. If they like it, then they can subscribe. Let's see. Big Blade, another good friend and content creator, is in here as well. Thanks for joining, buddy. And he says that he's hyped for Nose Cone and Grimlock being strong. Yeah, I mean, those are bots that a lot of people were trying not to chase for a while now for Grimlock or Razorclaw for me because I'm a Decepticon. I got him for. I think I got him when I was chasing Nemesis Prime, and I was like, man, I have zero use for this at this point. But now he's viable, and the same thing with Drill Horns. Drill Horns viable, and so yeah, I think they did a really good job with a set of reworks. So um, yeah, hopefully it turns out good. A mercenary Terror asked the question that if you have the 4-star drill horn, will you get the rework same day the event drops? Um, I believe that's supposed to be the case. I'm not sure if it's just gonna come with the update tomorrow, or if it's gonna, or if you're gonna have to wait for the event to play out. Usually, a content push is on the Thursday, so I'm leaning more towards that. But I can go back and ask that question. Like Big Blade saying the same thing I am, that they'll probably come out for the Thursday. Mm-mm. My good buddy Chris Harmon is in here, and moderator and member. Thanks for being here, Chris. And speaking of which, and I'm going to talk about it again in a minute, but Chris actually has his hands on that junk heap tour that he wants to give away on this live stream. So we're going to be talking about what my ideas are for that here in a little bit. So make sure you stick around for that. Let's see. Robert C4, another good friend and fellow content creator. Thanks for joining, buddy. And apparently, I missed this somewhere along the line, but apparently CF has a channel. Look, somebody do me a favor. Um, I want to support CF. I wasn't aware that CF had a channel. When the stream is over, or even in the comments, not in the actual live chat, but in the comments, so I can see it later on. Give me the link to CF's channel so that I can go subscribe to CF. Let's see. Joker, another good friend of mine and my very first member. Thanks for joining. Let's see. We got we got Autobot Phil in there. He was the one one of the first ones that reminded me that I was live. Thanks for that, and thanks for being here today. Lou Mega is here, as well as my teammate from over in there, and the DJD Candyman is in here again with us. Thanks for joining. Another good friend of mine, Fox the Bomb, one of my moderators and members. Thanks for being here as well. Let's see, Alpha Trion 1 is with us again, as well as Speak of the Devil Soldiers in here, one of my members and fellow official content creators. Thanks for joining. Um, and Chris Harmon asks, if we get dupes, do we get shards instead? I need to ask about that. We did not talk about that, considering some people already get that 4-star drill horn. So let me get back to you, see what I can find out. And Fox the Bomb agrees with me about the event, says it should be 50K tops. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it's got to be. I think 50K is good for old content. 50K would be fine. Ronald Van Hollen is with us again. Thanks for joining us, bro. I just got lost for a second. Let's see. E Rods is with us again, as well as Matt Pollock, really good friends of mine. Thanks for being here. And I think I got everyone so far. Yeah, so all right, cool. So one thing I want to talk about, and let me see if I actually got it loaded. So, and keep in mind, this just got into testing. But one thing we want to talk about is we just got into testing the Cosmic Rust Blaster. Now, I know people are going to start screenshotting this and sending it all over line in Discord or whatever, and that's fine. But that is the new weapon that we're working on. Um, we just got this in testing. I think it was yesterday. And honestly, I keep having mines get stuck on the Autobot side. But yeah, there's a new weapon that's going into the game. It's called the Cosmic Rust Blaster, and so they what they're looking at is the possibility of allowing it to pair with acid fire and electricity. And the numbers aren't final. I gotta say that the numbers are not final for this, but that's what we're looking at. Something that you can use if you use fire, if you use acid, if you use electricity, that you can get a little bit of buff when you go use that in a combo situation. So um, look for that to be here soon. I would blow it up, but every time I blow stuff up, like people just go steal my stuff. So I want the big old Freeziest Max to be shown in the background when they're talking about that, so everybody knows that official content creator made it. But so that it's not a leak or anything. But that's what we're working on in playtest. Um, and just got that. I think it was either yesterday or Monday. Mine's isn't working properly, so and even if it was, I probably wouldn't show it in action today, just because I only got it on my Autobot side. I'd rather show it with my actual Decepticon teams. But yeah, it looks like it's gonna be. When we first got it, it was on gunner type bots. I heard in playtest earlier that they opening it up to more bots. However, because mine's isn't working properly, I can't actually test it out yet, but looks cool, man. It looks like something that can boost. It's going to be a real good boost for your teams. One thing we were talking about in playtest, like right now, they're showing it as a 60% increase to those abilities. I can't see that sticking that way, um, and some people were already up in arms about it, rightfully so. I mean, 60% is a lot for that 5-star version, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to stick that way. And if you got to lower it for game balance purposes, lower it. But Mercenary Terror asks, who can I equip it to? Yeah, so yeah, like more to follow on it. Like I said, mine's isn't working properly, but they said they started letting it go to um, more of the range type attackers and stuff. So I imagine, like, I know for sure gunners. I think they might have expanded it over the air class bots, but I can actually try to take a look and see. Oh shit, it's working now. It actually is working. So, um, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, like it actually was working. It was been broke for me all the way up until right before this, until right before the stream. Like I said, this is in test, so we'll actually flip over and we'll take a look. I'll blow the screen up a little bit, and I don't mind sharing what we're working on for something like this because, dude, it comes out in 2 weeks, so uh, we'll see where we're at. So Robert C4 says it looks like something that came off of Tripticon. Yeah, it does look weird. I was I was actually caught off guard when when they said that's what we were doing, because I was wondering what the new one was gonna be. I always look forward to my combats, man. I actually like for the last couple of years now. I said I actually like the majority of the combats that came out. So yeah, I was pretty impressed. This is gonna be actually my first time playing it as a Decepticon because I you can see I was using it on skids on the Autobot side, but I was like I'm not building a whole Autobot team just to test this thing out. I said yeah, and I started bugging them about it. Said hey man, give me my Decepticon version of this. Mercenary Terror says yes, I can throw it on Terramander and Crankcase. So you know what, man? Like I'm with you on that because I would like something new to put on my Terramander, and eventually after I get him leveled enough, my Crankcase. And so you can actually see the cosmic rust effect right there. Um, and it is simply gives you a real big cloud, but it does it. I want to say it's a roughly every 15 seconds or so that it's going to shoot off the cosmic rust. So when you think it's overpowered, it might not be because you got to wait for it to actually go off over time. And right now, so yeah, it takes a little while before you can get that rust dust effect. But pretty cool. Give you a nice little boost. Give you a nice little combo. I'm not going to show too much of it until we get the finalized version. But the animations look sick. I think that I'm probably going to hoard some of my. I think I'm going to hoard for it. See how it works. But yeah, so that's what we're kind of looking at right now. Gonna have that rust dust weapon, or not rust, a cosmic rust weapon. And Chris Harmon like you asked when is a 5 star sword of balance coming out since they changed things, dude. Honestly, I'll be honest with you because they changed up the schedule. I think it was last saga, and typically the things the 5 star versions come out in the same order that the 4 star versions come out. So I I think that's supposed to be the next one. But I said honestly, I stopped keeping up with it. For me, usually the stuff comes out when it comes out. I don't have any inside info other than it comes out in the same order that the 4 stars came out, and it always comes out on week 4. Or it's supposed to always come out on week 4 during the big during the big 50K event. All right, so man, nobody really talked about their favorite moments in the game in the game so far this year. So if you want to do so, go ahead and talk about that in the chat. And I'm gonna pull up a list. I'm gonna pull up a list, all the different stuff that happened this year. We'll talk about what kind of review 2023 and Transformers Earth Wars. Um, but before, ooh, I didn't even think about that. So in 2 weeks, so after Thanksgiving, so well, yeah, right after Thanksgiving. Now, I mean, I saw yours, Robert C4. I said not that many people put this put this in there. And I see Marcio Fogo joined us. Thanks for joining, Marcio. I see my good buddy Loki's in here. Thanks for joining, Loki. So Robert C4 said his favorite moment is Leo Zach receiving a 5 star in the buff, and I know that's your dog, bro. Like I said, um, not one of my favorites in the game, but like I know you got a lot of respect for him in the lore too. I mean, honestly, it's not bad. And you get an asset bot and everything like that. That's the 5 star that we're talking about. Um, and they did some reworks in there. Uh, Overall, that batch was one of the bright spots I feel like of the year, just because there were some bots that we thought were really really bad that they made good. They made T2. Um, and that was actually cool with T2 just getting the 5 star and getting the buff because I had worked out that whole live stream. I was talking about with T2 how you could and I actually pulled T2 up. I was actually talking about how you could use T2 at short ranges at the time. But to be honest with you, they gave him some serious range, and now people are using them, and people are using. They love the passive ability. People are using them in outpost. People are using them for damage. I got a couple of teammates that'll just tear you up using T2 and Optimal Optimus. Man, it's pretty solid. So yeah, I really like that. And the thing is, one thing I've been telling people is get out of the habit of saying that once a bad bot, always a bad bot. Like they proved it with T2. Robert C4 said they proved it with with Leo Zach. Um, but yeah, like with T2, with like you'll see with this new drill horn rework, when they rework something, they're looking at, well, what is it that players actually want from it, and still try to keep it pretty close to how it already behaves. And so when we started getting those fireballs, man, I mean that's good AOE. That was definitely one of my favorite moments of the year for sure. Chris Harmon says my favorite was God Neptune, and least favorite was More or 13 for resources. Now the wars overall, for the most part, I mean the wars got pretty challenging, especially as we got deep into HQ18, and so you did start using more ore for that. Big Blade says that his highlight was 5 star Minerva, and then Sandstorm getting ability 11. That Sandstorm ability 11, that Sandstorm and Octane full, because I know Mercenary Terror is listening. He's a lore purist. But yeah, that was a good one because it gave him some survivability. And I'll actually go pull up. I'll pull up Octone. Once they gave him that max health boost, and once they gave him some sort of way to just help with the survivability piece, made him really really good. Because there was a point in time during HQ17 where people were starting to use him because it was the beginning. The acid meta had kicked off and everything like that. But he would rush in and die. So the way they set this up really helped with the survivability. Gave him a little bit of shield and yeah, he's good to go now. I see LJ Gav, good friend of mine, joined in here. Thanks for joining, LJ. Um, Matt Polly asked if we had Cyber Pass a year. Yeah, I think it's been a little bit over a year. So Big Blaze says everyone be like Be like, this is gonna suck, and then Space Ape says you thought and pulls out a Uno reverse. I mean, that's kind of what they did with that's kind of what they did with like T2. That's kind of what they did with a lot of different bots. So yeah. Jacada says Cyberpass was added February 2022. And thanks for joining again today, by the way. Good friend of mine from Playtest. Uh, mm, mm, mm. Big Blade says the least favorite part of the year for him was the asset meta. So, and we've had those conversations a lot. So, I know we talk a lot on my Discord server. If you're not on it, the link is in the description section of all of my videos. So, if you haven't joined that, join that. But yeah, we had a lot of conversations about asset meta, and the problem with asset meta is, as with all things that become a meta, people become too dependent on it. Um, to the point that like one of my least favorite moment, I think probably of the entire year for me was when Knockout and Skids got that extra 5 seconds added to their ability 11, primarily because that was built around, this bot was built around damage. The 3 times damage to the walls, the minions outpost. You went and gave them a bot specific core that was about damage, special ability damage. And so I said to myself, well, why are we now trying to go get anti heal out of it? That was infuriating for me. If you guys remember, um, a few of us content, like no content creators made any content that week. Um, Now it was funny because like engineer horse is like, what? There's a protest going on. I wasn't protesting anything. He just happened to just be doing other stuff that week. But I know myself, Sunstreak or Waza, we were just like, nah, man. Like, we just got frustrated with the game. That's why I took like a week off. Um, because no, or people probably wanted to hear what I had to say, but I said what I had to say about that particular moment in time wouldn't have been nice at all. So I try not to go say too many mean things, if I can help it. But yeah, to your point, Mercenary Terror is saying the same thing. Acid is overused and abused. Um, Mike Berge joined us and he says the highlight was the Fracas release. And he says he wasn't sure if that was this year. Now, without looking, I think the Fracas release might have been before 2023, but I think the five. Let me go look. I actually got the list up. No, I think that was the tail end of last year. So the combats that we got this year were. I'm gonna pull up combats while I'm talking about it. So yeah, this year we started out with Gabu and Bashbreaker. So that's where we're. So that would have been. I think that's two after Fracas. So yeah, you can actually see the ones we got. So this year we got Gabu and Bashbreaker. So and that kind of played into the acid meta, right? Because they'll say, "Hey, let's go get a combat. Let's go give them some acid projectiles," and he gives a good amount of damage for that. But then we moved on, and they said we want something to put on defense, and I still remember these conversations in playtest because Groundhog came out after that, and Groundhog and Big Daddy just had stupid range. They gave him like nice big chunks of health, so you can see there that maxed out 5 stars got almost 20k of health, and that's a game changer, man. That made defenses really really difficult, um, and it complemented well that we already had Growl. So yeah, so then that came out, and then here's where things took a weird turn. So Kuna and Beto became the first ones this year. They became the first ones that will. They originally it was going to be just for Shockwave and just for Wheeljack because they wanted to keep it kind of true to the lore. And so there was huge debates. It was huge debates about it in playtest. There were huge debates about it on TFEW Discord. And so what they ended up doing was compromising and say, hey, we'll make it really, really special for Wheeljack and for Shockwave. But it'll still give a boost to other healers too. And now I think that was a pretty good compromise. Now I will say though, there are a lot of players who still don't like these combats. Still don't like these combats. But when you use it with Shockwave, when you use it with Shockwave, it's honestly, man, it's pretty good. Let's go to the healing stats and take a look at it again. So you got your G1 Shockwave core, so you're getting an additional 17.4% for it, and you still getting that speed boost at 10%. Then you're gonna add um, an extra 30% heal, so it naturally increases by 15. Then you add another 30% if it's equipped the Shockwave. So when you look at them statistically, now take a look at his healing, 614.4. Where is my? You know, it gets you in the neighborhood of where Flatline and Minerva are with Ray boosters without a combat. So a lot of people are still using double healers. It works out really well. So it was different, but people didn't really ride with that as much as I thought they would. Uh, but we did the best we could in playtest. And then after that, Tiger Chest came out, and and I think what was aggravating about that is with Tiger Chest and Victory Leo, and that was around June, I believe. Um, it wound up being a thing where it's another one that we're making this specifically for a particular bot, and it was only for that bot. And I think people started to get afraid that we were only going to be making combats that were unique to specific bots. So that if you went in there and pulled that batch, and you didn't have that bot or you weren't going to use that bot in wars, you kind of felt like you were getting ripped off. Uh, Big Joe's in there. He says, healer haters. Big Blaze says exclusivity haters. So yeah, man, like the combats up there were pretty good. Now I think for a lot of players up there, a lot of top players, they was like, look, if I can't put it on my war team, it's junk. And I get it because you got so much in the game. Now I'm still working in the game and getting bots level, getting new pieces that are gonna be valuable to me in war. And I'm in like in a top 10 ish. Yeah, top right around the top 10 area war alliance. But I enjoyed a lot of this stuff with the exception of Tiger Chess. I'm still relatively neutral on that, but I noticed some guys. But this year we got that 5-star Deathsaurus and Star Saber that a lot of people were. I didn't think we were ever gonna get because they were so scared that it was gonna be overpowered. And this was one of the pieces that was also annoying because when Tiger Chess came out, it was like, all right, is this going to be the thing? They said they're going to do something cool at the end of last year, the end of 2022, to make Deathsaurus and Star Saber cool. And so they just kept doing little things. They say, hey, it's a 5-star. Okay, is this what's going to make them cool? Hey, it's Tiger Chest and Victory Leo. Is this what's going to make them cool? And then finally they came back around and they gave um, they gave him some love later on in the year when they did that the ability 11s, and so that's what wound up actually making him where he's usable in all leagues again. Then later on, Space Ape started the weapon system for the first time, and so now you got the Sword of Balance, and then Sentius Malice, another bot that we didn't think was going to come in as a 5-star, came in as a 5-star and worked out really well. The Sword of Balance, we're still waiting on that 5-star to come out. But dude, even as a 4 star, even as a 4 star, like right out of the box, that 4 star sort of balance is where I got it 4 star, and I've got it at level 1, and I use it on my 4 star Sentius Malice, and it's still like super effective. So when you go level these things up, they're actually really nice, and they actually Space Ape. This is the one weapon because the first time they were making a weapon, and but then they made a bot specific weapon. So people was like, all right, they're doing weapons, but we must be running out of combats. And they did actually say on one that they were gonna start doing weapons. They didn't want to exhaust their combats, but they're not running out yet. But they are starting to do more weapons, and it's a new concept. Um, as you can see with the Cosmic Rust Blaster, now they're starting to venture off to where you can use weapons on multiple bots. But Sword of Balance is specifically for Malice and Magnus, and it's really good. And they actually got it right pretty much the first time. And then, of course, we got the last combat we got a couple of weeks back was Lancelot and Buzz Strike. And yeah, that was back in October. And pretty cool. I like the animations for it. You get some good damage and good line damage at that. And then they added in the hack immunity, which really opens up some things. Like I actually just added Lancelon, the 4 star version, to my Ramjet the other day because I'm starting to do a lot more Ramjet sack in the current meta, and it worked out really good. Because now I don't have to use the Liege Maximo Core if I don't want to. I can use it for other stuff. So tell me in the chat, what do you think about this year's combats? Do you like them, love them, hate it? How would you rate them? I'd say I'd probably give them about a 7.5 out of 10 this year on combats. And yeah, to your point, Tony B says there's so many mini cons that haven't been touched yet. Yeah, I mean there's more of them. I think it's just, and I was surprised how hard people actually listen to the Space Ape streams because like people said, you know, well they do, but they don't. Like they'll say, Giannis said, "We'll never see you in Deathsaurus and Star Saber." I say he didn't say never. He says, I started to learn what they're actually saying when they saying it. So a lot of times, if Giannis gets on the stream and he says there's no plans, that means there's no immediate plans. What that typically means is for that particular piece of the meta, they say, "Nah, you know what? It's gonna be overpowered in this meta. We can do it later on when bases are stronger." And yeah, so that's when Malice came in. He's usable. People make the argument that he's not better than the other melee bots that are currently used in Prime League hard mode, and that's cool. Well, some people might not have those. Some people might might use what they got. Some people might just like I happen to like Sentius Malice a lot. I'm actually gonna go into that batch in the next week or two. And you know what? I mean, if anything, man, like I power leveled like a champ with my Sentius Malice when I was when back in his heyday at the 4 star. So let's see. Looking at the chat, Joe Merkles says he's waiting on Soundwave Thunder Machine. Big Play says we need to teleport gun air cannon. Now that would be dope. That would actually be really dope. Let's see. Robert C4 gives the combats this year 8.5 out of 10. Let's see. Joe Merkel says it's not as bad as Ravage and the Fat Dinosaur combats. Yeah. Now that was. Let me go pull this up, man, because now you want to talk about a time period where I felt like combats were disappointing. Actually, I don't want to look there. I want to go look. I might actually have them all on the live. bro, like even on the test server, bro. Like now, I know a lot of people like Gatorface. Cool, man. At that particular time, a lot of people like Glit. Actually, I like Double Crosser out of Legacy 3. But like, dog, Ver- Vertebrae I actually like out of Legacy 4. And Timbot too. I showed videos with Timbot and Fangtron. But I can, dude, honestly, I use those as a 4-star and it works just fine. So Giza at that particular time period was good, but people didn't realize that she was good because what it was supposed to be used for was for defense. And when I figured it out, that's been by the time that the meta had changed. So I say all of that because the majority of the combat bots just just hadn't been what we need them to be. And oh man, Big Joe broke out with the U word. You guys know I hate that U word. He said useless. Now, so this is how you use Giza. All you have to do, and it's really only for this particular type of layout. But when we were doing time traps and we were doing like when you were doing like honeycombs, you would use you would use Giza to pull you into um basically to suck you in and make you come real close to all the defenses. And so you're just sitting there pounding on walls and stuff instead of shooting long range. And that's what that was used for. But the meta changed and like nobody's doing that. So it was now, to your point, now you would say, well, that's relatively useless because we don't play the game like that anymore. I wish I would have realized that earlier. I would have capitalized on that part of the meta, but ultimately I didn't lose anything by not having her. Now I do love Singe, SG Ravage. I like, but I still had I would have to find a place for to use because better, um, companion type combats came out. Heartburn, I just never got into. A lot of people love Slugfest. Slugfest, I never got into, but even then, now you got Growl, um, now you got Growl, and now you got Big Daddy and stuff like that. Um, like we were talking about earlier. I mean, and then Power Punch is just Power Punch, man. He's never really been good. So realistically, when you look at the list of combats we were just talking about, and then you look at what we got now, I'll take what we got, what we've been getting like over the last year, 10 out of 10 times. Dog, Big Joe, stop playing. He just says Zori is horrible. Also, like I actually got Zori right now. I think I got him. Yeah, I got Zori on my bludgeon, and bludgeon already got like a lot of damage for a warrior class bot. But when you look at Zori, the thing is like you're just using it to get at more damage in addition to the damage you're already doing. So if you can find like a high damage like warrior type, dude, it works really good. Now, I've been tempted to go use other other combats, but I mean like on a high damage tank like bludgeon, and then you just add more damage around it. Now it's not bad, and you get an increase by 32%. So yeah, yeah. Robert C4 loves SG Ravage. I do too. I just hadn't had the spark to go in there and do something with them. But it was a really, really creative design. It was one of my favorites of that particular time period. But cool. So let's move on. So also this year, so I want to go look at the list of endurance bots that we got for this year. And so when you look at the endurance bots, we get started off the year with half shell. What's going on? Yeah, we started off the year with half shell, and Roadbuster. And at that particular time, folks weren't even people were on the fence. The biggest criticism was that this bot was too niche. You just, oh man, well, he takes down shields. What else? I mean, dude's doing 11K damage, and then they were adding at that point in time they were adding G1 to everything, extra 15.5%, unheard of for a special class to get a core that does that for the most part. So you add that, now you up there in that range of almost 13K damage. So that's already good, right? And then he got a rework, and then they said we're gonna the damage that you're doing, we're gonna take half of that and we're gonna apply it to anything that's in that bot's path. And now people are really, really, really starting to use half shell, and people are really starting to use Roadbuster to the point that top players are going crazy over this after the rework. So the rework I didn't feel like was necessary. I felt like we needed to use bots for what it is they do. If the tool, I always look at the tooltip and I read the tooltip a couple of times before I even go use a bot. But that's what I was doing. And so I was like, all right, well, if it takes out the shield generator, and this was right before HQ 8 or 18 phase 2 when we were about to get a shield generator upgrade. So I said, man, these shields are probably going to be really tough. You're going to need something to keep that under control. So that was what we got the first endurance bot. People didn't like it at the time. People like it now. Cool. And that's what I always tell people. When you look at endurance bots, I feel like you should always build endurance bots for the future. And so when I look at the future of something, you don't build it for the current meta. And people will look at the current meta and be like, oh man, this is bad. Nobody's going to use this. And then in the future, it happens. And with batches, period, there's a point in time when people didn't want to use headstrong and pipes. And they were trying to avoid them in that batch. And batch comes out, acid meta kicks off. Um, at that point, they were working the max health increase in the background. So you could already see what was about to happen. People just didn't know until other people started using it. So, all right, so we swung back around after half shell, and then we wind up getting, after half shell and road buster, we wind up getting full tilt. Let's see where I got my full tilt at. And a lot of people, full tilt and brawn, particularly brawn, were bots that people liked in the lore. But then I don't know that once again the criticism became that it's too niche. But I will say this. This is one of those bots that if we wanted to try to kick it, and I thought this was going to be the official kickoff of the electrical meta because this bot does so much damage and everybody was chasing damage. And then if you already use an electrical bot, you could use this in conjunction and just destroy everything. So I was thinking about all the different combos you could do, and it just never really caught on, especially with it being Braun. Like Braun was one of those because because he was so iconic. You know, I thought it was going to be really good. Um, I will say that I do feel that this one was a little bit niche, but if you're using other electrical bots, it works and it works really, really well. So we got that one for the year, and then after that, I think it was around May, was when we got Scylla and Ariel. And so for that one, I think I might have passed her already. I actually like this one a lot. Just because um, it kind of it kind of used two concepts. It kind of used a concept that like we would use with Megatron, where your team is going to follow you. Um, you get that Death Kiss ability, where you know, it's gonna help you destroy that target faster. So if that's your style of play, you know, dude, honestly, it works really well, and you can just have your team kind of just follow you in there because your allies are gonna prioritize attacking that particular target. Um, but still, again, I don't think it fully caught on the way that we wanted it to catch on. uh, we got a couple comments about full tilt. Joe, Big Joe says he can't get the hang of it, which I will say, full tilt is actually kind of awkward to use. Randall Hamilton just flat out says he sucks. uh, Big Joe says Scylla the ugliest bot in the game. Now I will say that, and in her alternate mode is pretty, but the colors of all the Seacons is actually really stunning. But like that's a weird looking, that's a weird, but it looks like that in the cartoon. So I can't even say nothing. It's just it is what it is. Um, but yeah, so we moved on from there, and then we got we actually wind up. Guys, you guys know I don't typically do a lot of endurance events, but we did one that I actually completed, and that one was for Junk Heap. And so added a fourth medic to the game, and so yeah, we got Junk Heap, well, fourth per faction. So yeah, you wind up getting Junk Heap and Retgar, and yeah, I actually went for this one. I'm still leveling it up, but you get a full revive out of this dude as long as you're not in the range of your Ray Blocker's cores on defense. I'm sorry, I said fourth medic, your fifth medic. Thanks, Big Blade, for that. So yeah, you wind up getting your fifth medic per faction. And yeah, and what I was thinking in my head was, remember when we were about to get four, and and certain players and were scared that that four was gonna be too much, and then shortly thereafter they added a fifth, and I was just like, maybe what, like a year and some change later, I was like, oh, all right. But then people started having a lot of criticism with this one too because they was like, once again, they said it's too niche. It's not doing enough healing because now it's closer to the healing stats of Reflector and First Aid. But you can give a full revive to a bot this about to die. So I like that one. I actually went for that one. And then we wound up getting, just 2 weeks ago, Wild Rider and Blue Streak. And I already seen a lot of these getting used in war, in top on top war teams. Uh, Still remains to be seen, but I think that one was pretty solid, and I think they got it right pretty much the first time. They did have to make some changes to keep it from being OP, but I think they got the concept pretty good the first time. Jamie Carpenter says Junk Heap just isn't Prime League hard mode worthy in my opinion. Um, I'll say this: they are a lot. So what I always look at is balance of a bot, and that's can I use that bot in Prime League hard mode uh, and be successful? Yes, I can. Do I need to the majority of the time? No, I don't. Because if I'm playing well enough, um, I'm probably not going to have to revive a bot. Just to be honest with you, and I do understand that concern, but I do like optional bots to play with. I like having all those options. So for me, if I get in the jam and I'm on the edge of flaming out or something on a war, and I say, well, I'm only losing because I'm losing this critical bot at this moment, and I got a way to back myself out of it. I look at it as a backup plan as opposed to something that I need. Now, I'll also say this: I'm getting to the point in the game where the majority of the time I almost don't need a healer at all. So I was willing to take that loss and then be able to just have a full revive whenever I need it. So, um, and I've talked about it on this channel before. I think there's a difference between what we consider war worthy, meaning, hey, no, this is the top bot of its category. This is like the top, like healer, or this is the top melee bot, or this is the top air class bot. People gonna want to use what they consider to be the best that they got. But at the same time, I always look at war worthiness and war capable. Is Junkheap and Retgar, are they war capable? Yeah, they are. Hard Prime Link hard mode. They're war capable. Um, Maybe not war worthy. So yeah, and that's what I started using. That's my term that I always use now is war. Is it war capable? And nah, I did not mention in this one. I skipped over. Yeah, I skipped over Tarn and Alpha Trion. So yeah, that was the one that we had this year as an endurance bot also, and that was one that's actually pretty cool, especially because you know, really iconic bots in the lore. They tried to do something a little bit different with this one, and tried to go give you something for the a different effect for each class. So I don't think that that one. And I know a couple of people that use Tarn and but but not that many. And I always like new concepts. I really do. And I was working on this one really hard, and because I do like to see all of the I like to see stuff different. Like a lot of times we just keep doing the same old type of abilities. And as much as I like some of these abilities where you um, build on things that we know worked well in the past, for this one it was really unique. Um, but I find these bots difficult to use overall. So, but let me know in the chat if you guys are one of the guys that went for Tarn, and you know how to use it really well. Let us know in the chat. Tony B says Tarn is expensive, and we all said it, and they didn't reduce his ability points. Um, I mean, hmm, is it for it to be a 10-second ability? Yeah, kinda. Um, 4 plus 4. I don't hate it, but at the same time, are you getting 4 plus 4 worth of ability out of it? Probably not. So, hmm. So yeah, so that's what we got. So I'll say this: I do overall, I do like the I like the combats that we get this year. Probably a little bit more than I like the bots, but we did get, I mean, Half Shell and Road Buster were really good. Wild Rider and Blue Streak will be really good. Um, and then you got some gray area in there. If you ask the average player, you got some gray area. I I'd tip my hat to Half Shell and Road Buster, Keep and Retgar, and then Wild Rider and Blue Streak. Um, I think the other ones are good, but I think that when you start to make endurance spots, you're gonna make them you essentially you want to make them the best in the game for I'd say like a year or two at least. So hopefully we can get there over the next year. Let me see. I had a list of other things that came out in the game this year. And so the list of other stuff that I had that Transformers Earth War started their Reddit this year. Um, let's see, we got the 4-star Scorpion out in fact Fort Max, but we already had the 3-star at that point. We got Acid Crimzik this year. And it kind of just helped out because you already were in the acid meta, but they was like, well, let's just go give a way for us to be able to do anti-heal without going crazy with it. I think that was a good one. So that came out this year, and let's see what else. And then we had that bat. We already talked a lot about the bat. Spinister and Rotostorm winning the community vote for that batch. That was interesting. But no, I mean not overly because they almost won the one before that. But yeah. Another point. Another point when I don't want to say it was a low point. I did try to help Space Ape develop this, but VIP changes this year. You know, they wind up changing that to more of a pay system. I said I don't want to get Chris Harmon more riled up about it because, and my thing is this: I didn't like that 2 months, 3 months prior that they were trying to pull more people in to the VIP, and then it was like, nah, we don't want to do that. We gonna change it. That was my key thing. Now you still get some free stuff, but dude, you get some really good stuff. If you paying, they just expanded it recently, but that's kind of what we were talking about. So that was a big one. That was controversial earlier in the year. And then, of course, we got God, Neptune, and Ruination. We talked about that. We got that in September. Breakneck and Smokescreen getting ability 11. That was a big one. Yeah, and I have to agree with you. Tony B says changing VIP is fine. Doing it the way they did it was a hot mess, and that's what my concern was. That's what my concern was, is the way that it happened. But you know what? It still was less controversial than Dino Gate the year before. That, you talk about a mess. Uh, so yeah, it was a pretty good year. Uh, Steven Schiff says the new cyber store tomorrow. So yeah, I'm interested about that. But yeah, man. So anyway, I think I'm gonna take off for the night, guys. Let me know in the comments if you hadn't already on the live stream. Let me know your favorite and your least favorite moments for the year in Transformers Earth Wars. And like I said, I will be back here with you guys next week for the weekly live stream. And I also want to remind you guys that if you're not a subscriber, definitely subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. Um, but I want to keep pushing that if you remember, and over the next couple of weeks, we're gonna wind up doing that drawing for that junk heap toy. So make sure that and we're gonna offer that to we're gonna offer that to members first. So be on the lookout for that. And I also got I just got a it's not here yet, but I also got a $50 Amazon gift card that I want to give away at some point as well. So that I'm definitely giving. That's definitely going to be a members only drawing for that. So, um, yeah, if you haven't already, go ahead and grab your membership, and yeah, and so you can get into the drawings for all the good stuff. And $50 gift card might come in handy, especially around the holiday time. But all right, guys, I'll see you next week, and I will also see you on the battlefield. Freezy is out.